Excuse me, but I would use this rather common saying. It's still a riddle wrapped in mystery, inside enigma, as Sir Winston Churchill said. And for me too. Now I'm going to first time since my expulsion from Soviet Union. I'm going to visit that. And I should confess that I'm a little bit nervous, you know, because country, my own homeland, motherland, now after the almost 10 years, turned into a sort of the certain abstract notion for me. It's a sort of the literary material rather than the living society. So I'm really, although we have a plenty of information nowadays about the Russia, great deal of information every day, but I feel like I I have lost some touch with my homeland. This country is much closer to me now than my motherland, you know. So I hope to restore some well, links with my past, uh, with my native soil. It happened in July 1980, that is 9.5 years ago, and I was expelled as an undesired writer, undesired author. I've never been a politician, as a matter of fact. But they didn't like the novels I've written. So that was only reason for expulsion. Uh, it's hard to say right now, but at least 16 novels and some collections of short stories, essays, uh, etc. That's my that's my American journal, as a matter of fact. I would say that's the journal of a writer who found himself uh, uh, unexpectedly in absolutely uh, um, unknown uh, realm, unknown land. And so that how finally I have adjusted to this new life, you know, my perception of this my new homeland, as a matter of fact. And I was desperately looking, when I started writing that, I was desperately looking for some, at least some bits of the mutual nostalgia, you know, until I found in the deep of my memory this old American song, Come to Me, My Melancholy Baby, which I've heard in the very old classic American movie Roaring Twenties, you know. And I remember how we were all fascinated as the kids in Soviet Union right after the World War II. We've been fascinated with some American tunes and some signs which were call signs which uh, we were receiving from this distant land. Yes, I have a son who is now 28. He lives in Moscow. That's from my first marriage. He's working in the movie industry as an art director. And here I live with my wife, Maya. I was born in Kazan, that's 800 kilometers east of Moscow. But I lived most of my life in Moscow. Well, I graduated from a medical institute, and I worked as a doctor for 4 years. And then I I wrote a novel, my very first novel, and all of a sudden it was published in the extremely popular magazine, the circulation of 3.5 million in Soviet Union. And that was smashing success, absolutely unexpected success for me. And so after that, I was already poisoned by literature, you know. So I quit medicine and started writing more and more. Theoretically, yes. But that would require the confirmation of my diploma. You know. In other words, I will have to be examined again. You know. First time I've been here still as a Soviet writer in 1975. That is 5 years before my emigration. As a guest professor at UCLA in Los Angeles. Well, that was a special story, you know. That I fought for the permission to come for at least a year, you know, to get this permission from the Soviet bureaucracy, and finally I succeeded. But that's really it deserves to be described in the special novel. Oh no, I never been a member of the party. Well, I traveled. By that time, I have been traveling already around the world, because I was quite popular writer at that time, you know. So maybe they used us, some group of popular, more or less independent writers. They used us to show certain degree of liberalization. Absolutely. Well, when I arrived here, I had a seminar at UCLA, and when I came back, I even read my first American travelogue, which was called 24 Hours Non-Stop. And it was published in Soviet magazine, very popular magazine. That was the time of the relatively mild relationship between two countries. Let me remind you, this space link-up, Soyuz, Apollo, and something like that. So that was detente, time of detente, and the relationship between two countries were relatively mild. The story, first of all, I have written a novel called The Burn, B-U-R-N. It was published here by the same publisher in 1985 by the Random House. Yeah, and then it was circulating in the narrow circles of my literary friends, because I was afraid of even submitting that to the publishers. It was quite sincere, well, overboard, I would say, novel from the Soviet point of view, you know. And so that I realized by the time that if I would go ahead and publish that abroad, there was no question of publishing that inside, you know. That would change my life, because they wouldn't tolerate this. And then all of a sudden I was approached by KGB, the formal approach by the two agents arrived to my place, my home. One of them, as I found out later on, was either colonel or general. Another one was a younger one. You know. That's interesting point, that one of those, that colonel recently repented in the Soviet magazine about this, you know, about pressure they put on me, you know, about their efforts to kick me out of the country. So they came over to my place, and they just said flatly, that if you would ever dare to publish this book, this novel, this is a novel, not a documentary, we would have to say goodbye to you. So right after that, I decided to go ahead and publish that because I realized that they are already behind me, you know. I would never be a free, independent person. Oh, no, no, no. Well, I published that, I smuggled that with the help of friends, foreign friends, to the United States and to France. And finally it was published first in Russian in the United States, and then translated. Oh, I'm sorry, first it was published in Italy, in Mondadori. I don't know why that happened, but Italian publishers were very much interested. All of my books are written in Russian, except for the latest one. I just finished my first book, set completely in Washington, D.C., and written in English. But that's I'm not quite serious about my English, but that's a sort of the literary game I offer to my readers. It's really hard, but that's a sort of a game for me, you know. I enjoy myself trying to write in English. It's a sort of like a crossword, you know. I use a lot of the dictionaries. I even dedicated this book to the Russian English dictionary. Well, a Random House actually made the first contract with me for the Burn when I was still there in Soviet Union through my agent. So that when I arrived, they already were my publishers, you know. So that I didn't have problems in finding American publisher. It was issued in July. This story of a bunch of photographers, Russian Soviet photographers, who decided first time in their life publish the independent collection of pictures free from censorship. It's actually based on the story of the writers, the bunch of writers to which I belong to, collection called Metropole. And that was the additional trouble I created for the Soviet authorities, you know. So I was singled out as a ringleader of that bunch of writers, of this Metropole collection, you know, and accused of subversive activity, you know. And so they expelled me from Writers' Union and denounced me as the agent of international imperialism and etc. 26 people. Some of them, most of them are there in the Soviet Union. Some of them emigrated, had to emigrate. Some of them just joined the majority, so to speak, passed away. Well, three people. Oh, certainly. You know that now this collection, Metropole collection, is considered the great venture, sort of the courageous attempt to break through, you know. It's now, everything has changed. This guy, this KGB guy who blackmailed me and intimidated me, now he's trying to, well, not to just to saying that I was doing wrong things, you know, please forgive me, you know. He is seeking forgiveness from the society, you know. Maybe I will. That would be interesting, you know. Certainly he said only one, maybe third, maybe even the lesser part than he knew. But anyway, he confessed that we have been doing the nasty things to the creative people, to the artists, to the writers, especially for he mentioned my name many times, especially to writers like Vassily Aksyonov. He had to leave his homeland under our pressure. Oh yeah, they are now very well respected. Absolutely, absolutely. It's amazing now that in literature there were really drastic changes. A writers' union to which I belong to, and which is actually is just the bureaucratic institution, the real child of Stalinism. Field of Stalinism, as a matter of fact. It still exists, but nobody pays attention to the writers' union, and they are creating their own groups. They are publishing whatever they want to publish. The new and new magazines sprung up, and some co-op publishing houses, even co-op publishing houses. No, I'm not going to stay for good, because it's really hard to. I'm already linked to this country. I'm a citizen. I have my job here. I'm teaching at George Mason University. I'm a distinguished Robinson professor at George Mason University. I have my students. I like them. I want to teach here. I want to be a part of the American literary process too. It's hard to just brush away all these 10 years, But maybe in the future I will be able to come more frequently than before, to my motherland. It's hard to say. Maybe I would look around and for the places where to jog. Well, first of all, I'm invited to Moscow by American ambassador. I will be a guest of Jack Matlock, American ambassador to Russia. So I will be his personal guest. And I'm going to hold a seminar at ambassador's residence for some Russian intellectuals and artists. Seminar on the topic the Russian writer in the United States. That would be my topic. Then I would see some audience of my readers, of my Soviet Russian original readers, so to speak, just once. I have very short period for this visit because I cut it from my schedule, university schedule. Also, I will have to go to my native town, Kazan, to see my father, who is still alive, and he's just turned 91, so that will be my first 10 years ago. Well, I talked to him a couple of years ago over the phone, but it's now hard to talk with him because his hearing already quite impaired. So I hope just to see him. I would say both. First, I was offered by the USIA, United States Information Agency, to come with lectures, But then I said that the situation will be rather ticklish, If I would come, a Russian writer would come as the representative of American official agency, But we know each other with Jack Matlock for long, and we have a very good friendly relationship. So he offered me to come as his personal guest, and I gratefully accepted that. Yes, this paperback came out in 87, right? Yes, that's the branch of the Random House. It was received rather well. It was acclaimed by the critics. I remember Jonathan Yardley wrote the very well review on this, and some other critics. They liked it. Well, that was first of all, it was strangely. It looked abandoned. It looked like the terrible backwater. And then all of a sudden we came across the great museum of Salvador Dali painting, on some shabby street. And people there were a lot of old people trudging slowly along these empty streets. And I knew that it was established by one Russian merchant to the end of the last century, certain Dementiev, Peter Dementiev. He Americanized his name, and he was called Peter Dimmons. And when we asked, we knew that there is the monument of Dimmons Landing. It was called the Dimmons Landing. And when we tried to find out where it is located and asked some local people, we finally realized that they thought that we're looking for some Demons Landing. I crossed the country twice, coast to coast, by car, driving, So I saw a lot of the country. It used to be California, Bay Area, as a matter of fact. Now I really like Washington, D.C., except for this humidity, but I really like the proportions of the city. I don't have any objections against that. Oh no, not at all, not at all. I know some people who work for the government, and some certainly congressmen, and that's quite natural if you live in Washington, But I'm not involved at all. I'm involved in the academic community, the university. They are, well, they have the really, they are coming to me almost blank, without any knowledge of Russian culture. I'm teaching them the Russian modern culture, so they don't have any knowledge of that at all, So I believe my first goal is to get them fascinated with the subject. And they are easily fascinated, That's why I love them, They're very quick in getting through material, So I feel that my job is rather a gratifying job, When they finish my seminar, I know for sure that they now know something about my motherland, about the culture, Russian culture, about some great heritage, great tradition of the avant-garde, modern writing in Russia, and they are enriched themselves. Yes, I am. I believe that now that's about 100 millions of Russian. So that if you would put together all other nationalities, Russian will be in minority, They are the biggest nationality, but the number of the non-Russians are growing. Number of Russians are some in decrease. It's hard to say. First of all, I don't know what the average American is. It's so the country of so many ethnic groups. That's why I love this country. I don't feel here like a white elephant, you know. So many newcomers, so many people of different background, different descent. Uh, yes, there is, it's more homogeneous society indeed, because all national groups, they have their territories. They live on their territory. And that's the greatest problem for the Soviet, that's the greatest headache for the Soviet leadership. If the, all ethnic groups in this country would have their own territories, you know, they would finally would fight each other. Fortunately, we don't have our territories in this country. Back there, all of them have their historical homelands, you know. Georgians, Azerbaijani, Armenians, Latvians, Estonians, and others. And they want to be, and they have all rights to be independent from Big Brother, you know, finally. And it's time to give them their rights to be independent, you know, I believe. That's maybe the only choice for the Soviet leadership to convert this monolith of empire, totalitarian empire, into some flexible commonwealth of nations. Mostly all the governmental bodies mostly contain Russians. There are some representatives, for instance, the Minister of the Foreign Affairs, Shevardnadze, is a Georgian, but most of members of Politburo are Russian. From my point of view, Gorbachev is just a miracle, you know. Before he started his campaign, all of us already almost lost any hopes for the future development in Russia. Everything looked like dead body, you know, especially the Communist Party. Communist Party was just a dead body, and we didn't believe that they are able to promote any person with some aspirations to do something actively, you know. That's a miracle from my point of view. That's just a miracle. He belongs to my generation, Gorbachev. I'm 57. He's 58. So that's the same. Where are the students of the 50s? And I knew before, during the first perestroika, so to speak, first perestroika, during the Khrushchev's time, you know, I knew a lot of the people of my generation who were in the party and who were trying to introduce some reforms, some ideas at least, ideas of reforms. They were relentlessly purged from the party. They just get rid of them without words, you know. And they were extremely disappointed, all those young politicians, and they said they decided to skip our generation because they believe that we are pampered already by the Khrushchev's ideas, Khrushchev's thought. Oh no, it's now much more developed. You know, that time it was just the liberalization is now gone much further than that time. Oh yeah, no doubt about it. I believe that they could be, if the things would be going on like this, in this pace, you know, they soon could be enjoying the total freedom in publishing, absence of censorship. There is still censorship. They are they don't allow to publish some things, especially some, they are imposing some moralistic approach to the Puritan approach to the literature. So they are very reluctant to give this the literature, the modern literature, free rein in some explicit scenes, sexual relationship. I love it. I love writing. It is easy. Yeah. I really love it. That's my favorite pastime. Well, when I'm not disturbed by anyone, I write average 6 pages a day, double speed. Well, first I'm still writing by my hand. First version of that. Second step, this is a computer, with a computer which can write English and Russian. Actually. Oh no, I can just switch from English to Russian and back. Yeah, on the computer. Well, I'm making editing. I'm looking for some better synonyms and etc. Yes, that's rather metaphorical photographers. But there are some my thoughts about photography. Well, I'm not a professional photographer, but I just try to realize what the modern photography is all about in the modern world. What is this? Actually, metaphysically, what is this? It seems to me that photography is most metaphysical art of any other. I would love to. I would, if I would start my life again, I would love to be a photographer and a saxophone player. Well, I used to be the great fan of American jazz. Now I'm a little bit less fervent. That just because I can get it whenever I want nearby, it's still very popular. Although it's now a little bit elbowed out by the Soviet rock, the young generation obsessed with the Soviet version of rock. Well, first of all, they would love to get my my freedom to travel. For instance, I'm not traveling much now, but the thought that I can travel whenever and wherever I want, anytime, that's a great idea for anybody in Soviet Union. Although it's now that a lot of the travel restrictions have been lifted, and now people are traveling much easier than before, they cannot afford it, indeed, because the Soviet money is not convertible, So they would love to get some part of my salary to in convertible currency. That's another obstacle for traveling, for not being a member of the modern family of nations. That's what they want, Russians. To be again the members of the family of the nation. It's hard to say, but anyway, they live very scarcely now. Really, food, clothing, everything is problem for them. Everything. Although it's not that important for creative people, They would, if they would give me the choice 10 years back, what would you choose? The material wealth or the freedom of writing? I would choose freedom of writing indeed. I don't think that it's too much. That it's understandable. It gives the United States the energy, you know. So because people understand that they are working and they can spend the money for some real things, you know. Back there in Soviet Union, they are working and they don't know what for. What they cannot buy anything for their rubles, you know. They're standing in the lines for the very basic goods. They don't have enough food. They don't have the quality clothing. Nothing. I would say that education, it's still on the, well, more or less tolerable level, you know. They give this not bad education to the people, you know. There is a lot of the well-educated people in Soviet Union. There is a lot of the very inspired people in the Soviet Union. They really, the lack of the consumer goods, but they do have the excess of the creative ideas and the spiritual inspirations, you know. It's really, I would say that's rather exciting time to live in Soviet Union. That's a revolutionary situation. She is not. She is still Soviet citizen, but she is permanent resident of the United States. So in our family we have because she had not been deprived of Soviet. First of all, I was deprived of Soviet citizen by Brezhnev himself, officially deprived by the decree of the Supreme Soviet signed by Brezhnev. So I was considered officially a felon. That's why I decided to apply for the American citizenship. You know. My wife never been deprived of official Soviet citizenship. She maintained the Soviet citizenship for quite a long time, and when she traveled already a couple of times back there, and so now it's still up in the air. She didn't yet decide what to do, either to apply for the American citizenship or just maintain the. Last June, she is getting really exhausted after any trip to the Soviet Union. She says that it's getting worse, and the hardships of Soviet population are getting worse and worse. Yeah. People are tired. Really, people are tired of constant search for any basic thing. Yes, I know. You know, I worked for 8 years. I had a weekly program on VOA in Russian service, you know. Now I decided to make some selection of my scripts for VOA and create the book of the last decade, you know, of the 80s. To the Soviet citizens on American life, on American literature, on American sport, on American, on anything, on any problems, or on Soviet problems. A lot. Millions. They now started writing letters. The other day I had a call from Chelyabinsk. That's the city beyond Ural Mountains in Siberia. He managed to get through. And that was my fan from Chelyabinsk who is listening to my Voice of America program. Extremely, cannot be overestimated, you know. The broadcasting in Russian from the West really created the new atmosphere. They created alternative voice to the totalitarian propaganda. It still was possible to find some signals, you know. I know that from my own experience, you know. If you would take your radio and would find some better position in the room, it was possible. I was not going to say that. Maybe the United States is still more the richest country in the world and the most powerful country indeed. But I, I tried to say that what I noticed, this amazing lack of interest to anything outside the United States. You know. I always try not to make generalization, you know. I know that there are everybody in the United States. There are groups of who knows everything outside the United States. They are well the great expert on anything, you know, certainly. But the general approach to some things outside United States are rather rather tepid, to 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 put it mildly, you know. Say, oh, that's what very interesting indeed. In fact, I see that's not quite interesting for them. I'm trying not to make the generalization, but for instance, when I see the coverage of the sport events, sport is the very mass entertainment, you know. So it's easier to make generalization in the sport, you know. And I noticed that the Americans simply are not interested in any sport events outside the United States. Even the sports event where American teams are taking part, and the winning or losing, nothing at all. I don't know. I still don't understand that. Well, sometimes the television people explain that we don't have enough time for covering this. We have very active sport life here, but they do have time to talk minutes and minutes and 5 minutes about some, trauma for the quarterback, how he sprained his ankle or something, and where he is going to next season, etc. But they don't have time to just to say that the this team from NBA just came back from the European tournament, first time in sport history. They played with the best European basketball teams. They won, etc. Nothing like that. No track and field events. No, nothing. Just it's really strange. Really strange. Well, actually, I like this country. You know. And it seems to me that the United States is setting the model for the future humankind, maybe. That's the unique country created relatively recently by many different ethnic groups. You know. So what I really don't like, that's the certain lack of what, you know, that I remember once Saul Bellow said during the Penn Congress and I completely share his view. Penn Congress in New York, yeah. He said America actually fulfilled any of its promises to the people, but culture. And I would say that I agree with him in a way. because there is a certain tendency to create the so-called mass culture, to certain tendency to create the commodity from the piece of art, you know, marketable thing out of book, out of play, out of the movie, looking for the average taste, average consumer in order to get more profit. You know. Yeah, indeed. In the cultural field, it's not bad to get profit, you know, but that's not first priority for creating some piece of art or literature, you know. Oh yeah, certainly, if they would publish this one, that would be sold in millions. Here it's just, if they would sell here, that's some 30,000 copies, that would be good. First of all, the Soviet readers are still hungry. You know. There is a certain um, still lack of reading. Then they are now they eagerly looking for some answers to their questions. You know, American public, reading public, or looks a little bit well glutton with the titles. I have no idea, but there are some trash which nobody read, you know. They know how to choose some, how to tell the gem out of, from the trash, you know. Here it's really hard to tell that, you know. So many bright jackets and the captivating titles. It's really, and there is a lot of the good written thrillers, and that it's good. It's good, but it's too much, you know. It's too much, and the book is becoming the sort of commodity, you know, and this aggressive promotion of the book, you know, it creates the not quite healthy atmosphere in the, and it's now that discussed not only by outsiders like myself, you know, by the American intellectuals too. Many intellectuals are concerned. They are readers, certainly they are readers. One group of my students are actually the young writers, you know. So they want to know, to learn more about Russian literature, and they are writing, they're making their first attempts in writing. And we discuss some problems like this, and they do agree with this. I'm afraid that I won't tell anything before they would just overwhelm me with the questions, you know, about the United States. That there is the great interest to this country. And it seems to me that now it's even hard to say anything critical about United States and Soviet Union. People wouldn't believe it. Thank you, brother.